So, if you are going through a difficult period of time with your child's behaviour, there's a number of things that we can do to support these behaviours by us being assertive as the parent, while also giving choice and option for our children. Because, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of what we're going through at the moment we don't have any control over, for both the children and the adults, and that can impact our day-to-day interactions and how we're dealing with things. And I think it's something that we need to be mindful of ourselves, that when we're under pressure, it does it can uh, determine or influence how we parent the children. And I think at the same time, it's also important to acknowledge that we need to give ourselves a break, because this is a pressurized situation. And by giving us the chance to acknowledge that, name it, and look at ways of, okay, what can we do to influence our own situations? While there's a lot of things that we can't control right now, what can we influence at the same time? So I'm going to take you through a variety of little ideas, and I have them here in front of me. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to refer to them on my page. But certainly catching your child being good. So noticing more so when your child is actually listening, following direction. If they have been biting or they have been hitting out, they're showing those physical behaviours. And let's say they're showing how they are being gentle. Catch it and say, oh my goodness me, you're being so gentle, it's lovely and gentle, well done. Or, being specific rather than you're a great boy. Tell them exactly what you're praising them for. If the kids are fighting a lot, and like that, you've had to sit them down and kind of go, okay, we're all going to really have to make our best efforts here, because we are together more than we usually would be. So if you see or hear that the kids are actually getting on well, and they are having a bit of a laugh, or they've been kind to one another in some way, shape or form, catch it. Now I know some parents would say, I don't want to catch my children being, getting on well, because it'll just remind them that, hold on, we usually don't get on well. So, but look, you know your own children best, and it's important that you focus on what works for you. But noticing the positive behaviours is a means for paying attention and putting energy into the positive behaviours, rather than it just being reacting to the negative behaviours. And again, if your children are clued in and they notice the attention or the behaviours that work to gain negative attention, that's where they will put their energy. So catching your child being good can be a nice one to go with, to break that habit of, oh my god, I feel like I'm constantly giving out, or feel like I'm constantly nagging. Distractions, again, focusing your child on what you want to happen. And it's an excellent way for leading our children out of misbehaviour. To be honest, it works more so for smaller children than our older kids. But things like if they're jumping on the couch, or likewise if you see that they're quite irritable because they're tired or they're hungry, or maybe they haven't been outside, because again, through all these restrictions, we're limited to what we can do. Distracting quite quickly. If you start to see, you can kind of see it already, that things are spiraling or getting, sparks are starting to fly, take them out of the situation and just distract with an activity, or just getting outside the door. Because I think right now, and I can see with my own children and myself, that I know when we need to step outside and get some fresh air, even if it is just doing the laps of where I live, or going across the road outside of our area where we live, outside our housing estate. Even just 20 minutes of fresh air can just take that pressure point off us. So if you are in a position where you can kind of step outside, I would do that. So that's kind of like a form of a distraction. Telling your children what you want to do. So do's rather than don'ts. So one of the common types of instruction is stop and don't. And while, it's part of being a parent, if you find yourself where you're thinking, I could rephrase this in such a way, even like for smaller children where they are throwing their toys across the floor, or they're screaming for some reason, keeping your toys in the box, please. Or, clearly saying that if the toy is going to hurt somebody, that you say, stop throwing your toys and your toys stay in the box, or keep your toys down by your side. Stop throwing food on the floor. Follow it up with, your food stays in the plate, please. Don't spill your drink. Your drink stays in the cup. And issue then with if you spill your drink, I am going to have to take it away from you. Or if you start to see that they're pushing their cup and they're looking at you and they know you're just waiting, remove it. Because again, the more we focus on the negative, the more our children will kind of pick up on that. Let's say you are going out for that breath of fresh air. You tell them they're quick to kind of run off. Of course, they need to have a little bit of space to burn off their energy. But if it's at a point where you're on a road and you need them to stay by your side, even before you leave the house, going, right, we're going to go for a walk. You can have a little bit of a run, but when we get to the road, I need you to stay by my side to stay safe. Because again, forewarning our children about something can be really helpful, because you're setting a precedent, or you're setting that expectation there and then before it happens. So saying the do's rather than the don'ts can be really good. And if you do say a don't or a stop, follow it up with rephrasing it in what you want them to do. Okay, the when then instruction, and this is something that I would share a lot with families I work with, but it's simply a way of phrasing an instruction. So, for example, if you want them to get their coat on, it's like, when you put your coat on, then we'll go outside. Or, I really want my snack. When you have your dinner, then you can have your snack, whether it is your fruit or your yogurt. It's your choice. I really want to put the telly on. When you tidy up your toys, then we'll put the telly on. Or, I really want my story. When you get your pajamas on, then you can have your story. So when then is a really effective way of getting our children to do something. And at the end of the day, it's something that you want them to do anyway. But it gives them a choice as to whether they do it or not. But whatever they want won't come until they do it, if that makes sense. So when then is a nice little way of managing getting our children to do something. I think for a lot of the time when we are asking our children to do things, and listening plays a big part in that. If we are in, one room and we're shouting in at our kids to do something we want them to do, often it's the fifth time in and you're telling them, you're giving them a direction or instruction. And that's where our children will struggle, because, and we get frustrated because the communication is not face to face. And we get frustrated, and before you know it, it turns up into a big argument. So listening to our children and giving them directions when we are there and we are in close proximity is a lot more effective than shouting from room to room, which we're all guilty of. But if you find that you're getting more and more frustrated because you feel the kids aren't listening, that's where it can really be helpful. The other kind of part of all of this, and it's something that I am going to finish on, right now, and I've mentioned it already, we are not in control of this situation that we're in. So therefore, we need to be mindful of offering our children choice in as a most realistic way as possible. And that means, giving them the opportunity to choose an activity that they can do over the course of the day, or if they do want screen time, at what time do they want it? Is it that they can have it after they get their schoolwork done, or after they have tabletop, if they're doing a bit of painting, or they're getting some time outside, that's when they can come in and have their screen time. Or likewise in the afternoons, after they have a snack. Giving them the option will give them that sense of control and decision making in a healthy way, because often our children will seek out that negative attention and those negative behaviours because they're not in control of the day to day. So the more choice and healthy options that we can give our children, the better it is for them, and the less they come looking and seeking out to control in a negative way. Lastly, when it comes to one-to-one time, and look, I know while we are restricted and being in our own homes right now, it's one thing you're thinking, I feel like I'm constantly spending time, but the difference between spending time together and being present, and letting maybe your child give them the option of spending time together, And again, 20 minutes in the day, if we give them that undivided attention, that's when they're more likely to work with us on the other day-to-day activities and things that we need them to do for us. So having that little bit of one-to-one time, getting them to pick what they would like to do with you together, they're more likely to listen and follow direction. And if we've given them that positive attention, they're less likely to come looking for it in a negative way. I'm aware that this hasn't been the way we would have liked it to be if we'd been in a setting where we could ask questions. But like I said at the beginning, please feel free to contact me at aoife@parentsupport.ie. I am very active on Instagram, which is at Parent Support, where I share and have a lot of resources and content on lots of different parenting topics. So by tuning in to my page, getting in touch with me directly if you do have any questions, or my website is parentsupport.ie. I'd love to for you to get in touch and help you out as best I can. The very best of luck, wishing you well, stay safe and healthy, and stay at home. Take care.